They thought erasing my name from the gallery placard was the end of the conversation. They didn't know I'd been holding the mortgage note for 11 months, and they were already 4 payments behind. My name is Maya Castellanos. I am 38 years old. I watched them remove the bronze plaque from the brick wall on a Thursday afternoon in December 2023. The drill whined against metal. Jordan Way stood on the sidewalk directing the contractor with precise hand gestures, her designer eyeglasses catching the winter light. The plaque read, "Founded by Maya Castellanos and Jordan Way, 2015. They replaced it with a sleek LED sign that said, "Way Donovan Gallery, curated contemporary art." My name disappeared into a cardboard box. Now let me take you back to the Thursday afternoon in late October 2023 when Jordan asked me to meet her at Brew Coffee, bar on Trade Street. I arrived first. The espresso machine was too loud. The wooden tables were too close together. Jordan walked in wearing a cream blazer and black jeans. She ordered a latte. She sat down across from me and adjusted her glasses. She thanked me for coming. She said she wanted to talk about the future of the gallery. She said Derek had been thinking about expansion opportunities. She said they wanted to buy me out. She slid a folder across the table. Inside was a 3-page contract. The offer was $340,000 for my 50% stake. She said it was generous. She said it reflected the gallery's current valuation. She said it would give me the freedom to pursue my own projects without the burden of operational responsibilities. Quick pause. Comment where you're watching from, then we continue the story. I read every line twice. The contract contained no non-compete clause. It contained no building rights provision. It transferred full ownership of the Way Donovan Gallery LLC to Jordan Way and Derek Donovan. It released me from all financial obligations to the partnership. It also released them from all financial obligations to me. I looked up. Jordan was smiling. She said she hoped we could keep things professional. She said she valued everything we had built together. She said she wanted to make sure I landed on my feet. I asked her one question. I asked if the $89,000 I loaned the gallery in year 2 was included in this settlement. She blinked. She adjusted her glasses again. She said that loan was a partnership contribution, not a personal debt. She said the buyout price already reflected my equity stake. She said $340,000 was more than fair. I nodded. I signed the contract. I shook her hand. I walked out of the coffee shop. I did not argue. I did not negotiate. I did not mention that I already owned the thing she thought she was buying. Let me explain how that worked. In March 2022, Jordan and Derek exercised an early purchase option on the building at 412 Meridian Street. The original lease-to-own price was $1.8 million. They took a commercial mortgage for $1.5 million at 6.8% interest. The bank that issued the mortgage was First Horizon Commercial Lending. In March 2023, 11 months before Jordan handed me that buyout contract, First Horizon sold a portfolio of underperforming commercial loans to institutional buyers. I was one of those buyers. I purchased the mortgage note at 92 cents on the dollar through a shell LLC I had formed years earlier for separate art investments. The LLC was called Castellanos Properties. Jordan and Derek never received notification of the sale. North Carolina law does not require lenders to notify borrowers when mortgage notes change hands between institutional holders. I became their creditor in March 2023. They did not know. I did not tell them. I watched the payments come in. April 2023, May 2023, June 2023, July 2023, August 2023. Every payment arrived on time. Then September 2023 arrived. No payment. October 2023, no payment. I called the number on file. No answer. I sent a certified letter to the business address. It was returned unopened. November 2023 came. Still no payment. December 2023. Still nothing. By the time Jordan slid that buyout contract across the table in late October, they were already 2 months behind. By the time I signed it in Derek's lawyer's office on a Thursday afternoon in January 2024, they were 4 months behind. By March 2024, they were 6 months behind. I issued the formal 90-day default notice in April 2024. Let me give you the exact timeline. Jordan and Derek bought the building in March 2022. I bought their mortgage note in March 2023. They stopped paying in September 2023. They bought me out in January 2024. I issued the default notice in April 2024. The foreclosure auction was scheduled for November 2024. That gave them 7 months to cure the default. They did not cure it. They tried to refinance. No bank would touch them. They tried to sell the building. The market was soft. They tried to negotiate with the creditor. They did not know the creditor was me. They sent letters to Castellanos Properties LLC. I did not respond. They hired a lawyer to investigate who owned the note. The lawyer found a Delaware-registered entity with no public officers. They hired a private investigator. The investigator found a registered agent address and nothing else. They were fighting a ghost. I spent those 7 months doing something else. I contacted 12 artists. These were artists I had championed in the gallery's first 5 years. Lucia Reyes, the sculptor whose work Jordan removed from the main exhibition space after Derek said it was too raw for collectors. Marco DeLuca, the installation artist whose solo show I curated in 2017 before Jordan said we needed to focus on blue-chip names. Yuki Tanaka, the ceramic artist whose pieces sold out in our second year before Derek said pottery did not belong in a serious contemporary gallery. I called each of them. I told them I was forming a new artist collective. I told them I had secured a building. I told them the rent would be subsidized. I told them they would have full creative control. I asked if they wanted in. 8 of them said yes immediately. 2 more said yes within a week. 1 said maybe. 1 said no. By June 2024, I had 10 confirmed artists. By August, I had 15. By October, I had 20. They did not ask where the building was. They trusted me. I had spent 5 years proving I could see their work when no one else could. I had written grants. I had cold-called collectors. I had stayed late installing lights and sanding floors. They remembered. Jordan had forgotten. That was the difference. The foreclosure auction was held on a Wednesday morning in November 2024. The location was the Mecklenburg County Courthouse steps. The granite was cold. The crowd was sparse. 3 bidders showed up. 1 was a commercial developer. 1 was a private equity fund. 1 was me. The opening bid was $1.2 million. The developer bid $1.25 million. I bid $1.3 million. The fund bid $1.32 million. I bid $135 million. The auctioneer called it once, twice, sold. I signed the paperwork. I walked away owning the building outright. Jordan found out 3 days later. I sent her a formal 30-day vacancy notice by certified mail. The notice was printed on Castellanos Properties LLC letterhead. It named me as the sole officer of the company. It informed her that the building at 412 Meridian Street had been sold at foreclosure auction. It informed her that all tenant rights had been terminated. It informed her that she had 30 days to remove all property and inventory. It included a phone number. She called it. I answered. She asked me how long I had known. I told her 11 months. She asked me why I did not tell her. I told her she never asked. She asked me if I planned to evict her. I told her the law required a 30-day notice. I told her I was following the law. She hung up. The building is a converted printing warehouse with exposed brick and industrial skylights. The first floor is now a shared studio space. 20 artists work there. The second floor is subsidized housing. 4 artists live there. The third floor is my private workspace. I keep the bronze plaque in a drawer in my desk. I have not displayed it. I have not destroyed it. I just keep it there. Sometimes I take it out and look at it. Founded by Maya Castellanos and Jordan Way, 2015. That was true. We did found it together. We did build it together. Then she decided my name did not need to be on the wall anymore. I did not fight that decision. I signed the contract. I took the $340,000. After taxes and legal fees, I netted $210,000. That sounds like a lot, but if you add 5% compound interest to the $89,000 I loaned the gallery in year 2, the total comes to $104,000. I am still in the red. The math does not lie. People do. Jordan posted a statement on Instagram after the foreclosure. She called it a painful lesson in financial literacy. She thanked everyone who supported the gallery over the years. She said she was proud of the work they had done together. The post got 340 likes. She did not mention my name. She did not mention the $89,000 loan. She did not mention the lease I negotiated in 2015 that saved them $600 over 6 years because I knew the landlord's daughter and convinced her to give us a below-market rate of $4,200 per month when comparable spaces cost $8,000. She did not mention any of that. She just said it was a lesson in financial literacy. I do not check her Instagram anymore. I do not think about her much. I think about the artists. I think about Lucia installing a new sculpture in the main studio space. I think about the 20 people who trust me to hold the building steady while they make work that matters. I think about the fact that I own the walls now. No one can take my name off them. No one can vote me out. No one can decide I am just support staff. That is what happens when you let them think erasing you was easy. I turned the silver ring on my right index finger and opened the desk drawer. Inside was a folder labeled Way Donovan Gallery Financials, 2015-2023. I had assembled it over 8 years. Every invoice I paid, every lease renewal I negotiated, every artist contract I drafted while Jordan focused on curator relationships and gallery events. The folder was 3 inches thick. I pulled out a single sheet from the back section. It was dated March 14, 2023. A bill of sale for a commercial mortgage note. The seller was First Charlotte Commercial Bank. The buyer was Castellanos Properties, LLC. The purchase price was $138.92 on the dollar against the 1.5 millimeters face value of the note. The borrowers listed on the mortgage were Jordan Way and Derek Donovan. The property securing the loan was 412 Meridian Street. I had bought their debt 11 months before they bought me out. The mechanics had been straightforward. Commercial mortgage notes trade between institutional holders all the time. Banks sell them to private equity firms. Private equity firms sell them to other banks. North Carolina law does not require lender notification when notes transfer between qualified institutional holders. Castellanos Properties LLC qualified. I had structured it years earlier for separate art investments. The LLC held 2 other properties, a converted textile mill in Durham and a former tobacco warehouse in Winston-Salem. Both were artist studios now, both were profitable. When First Charlotte decided to offload non-performing commercial real estate loans in early 2023, the Way Donovan mortgage note appeared in a portfolio sale. I made a private offer. The bank accepted. The transaction closed in 14 business days. Jordan and Derek never knew. Their monthly mortgage payments had been going to First Charlotte. After March 2023, those payments came to an account controlled by Castellanos Properties, LLC. When they stopped paying in September 2023, the checks stopped arriving at my accountant. I tracked every missed payment in a separate spreadsheet. By December 2023, when Jordan had the contractor remove my name from the building, she and Derek were already 3 months behind. By the time Jordan offered me the buyout in late October 2023, they were 2 months behind. She sat across from me at Brew Coffee Bar on Trade Street. The espresso machine was too loud. The mid-morning crowd made the conversation feel both public and private. Jordan adjusted her designer eyeglasses. She slid a folder across the table. Inside was a single-page term sheet. $340,000 for my 50% ownership stake in the gallery. No equity, no royalties, no credit, just cash and a signature line. Derek and I want to take the gallery in a new direction, she said. Her voice had that performative warmth she used with collectors. We think it's time to focus on blue-chip artists, established names. The emerging talent strategy worked when we were building the brand, but the market has changed. I did not ask what she meant by we were building. I did not remind her that I had discovered 12 of the 15 artists currently showing in the gallery. I did not mention the $89,000 loan I had given the gallery in year 2 when operating revenue did not cover expenses. I did not bring up the lease I had negotiated at $4,200 per month when comparable spaces were renting for $8,000. I just looked at the number. $340,000. This seems fair, I said. Jordan blinked. She had prepared for negotiation. She had a folder of comps and valuation models ready. I could see the tabs sticking out. I'm glad you think so, she said slowly. When do you need the signature? I asked. We were hoping to close by mid-December. Derek's lawyers can handle the paperwork. I nodded. That works. She adjusted her eyeglasses again. It was the gesture she made when something felt wrong, but she could not identify the source. Maya, I want you to know this isn't personal. It's just business evolution. You've been an incredible partner, but Derek brings financial resources we need to scale. His network opens doors. I took a sip of my coffee. It had gone cold. I understand, I said. That was the entire conversation, 22 minutes. We did not hug. We did not reminisce. Jordan left first. I stayed and finished my coffee. 2 months later, I signed the buyout papers in Derek Donovan's lawyer's office. The space was all glass and leather and views of uptown Charlotte. Derek wore his Patek Philippe watch. He checked it twice during the signing. Jordan sat beside him, her hand on his arm. They were performing unity. The lawyer walked me through the standard disclosures. I was giving up all ownership claims. I was relinquishing any future revenue rights. I was acknowledging that the gallery name, brand, and reputation belonged solely to Way Donovan Gallery, LLC. I signed every page without reading them. The lawyer looked mildly concerned. Jordan looked relieved. They wired $340,000 to my business account the next day. After taxes and legal fees, I netted $210,000. I put the money in a separate account and did not touch it. The original $89,000 loan I had given the gallery in 2017 had never been repaid. With compound interest at 5% annually, it was now worth $104,000. Even after the buyout, I was still in the red by my accounting. But I was not counting that money anymore. I was counting something else. 3 weeks after I signed the buyout, I sat in Raymond Park's office. Raymond was a commercial real estate attorney. We had worked together on 2 prior acquisitions for Castellanos Properties, LLC. His office was in a converted warehouse near Noda. The space smelled like old wood and fresh coffee. Raymond kept a leather briefcase with brass corners on his desk. It was always perfectly aligned with the edge of his blotter. "The mortgage is current as of this meeting," Raymond said. He tapped a spreadsheet on his tablet. "Jordan Way and Derek Donovan made their January payment on time. It hit your account on the 3rd. "Good," I said. "But December was 14 days late. November was 9 days late. October was 6 days late. The pattern suggests liquidity stress." I nodded. "What happens if they miss a payment entirely?" Raymond did not blink. This was the work he did. Foreclosure mechanics, default timelines, creditor rights. North Carolina law requires a 30-day grace period. If they miss a full payment and do not cure within 30 days, you can issue a notice of default. After 90 days of continuous default, you can file for foreclosure. The court process takes approximately 4 to 6 months depending on their response. And if they do not respond? Foreclosure auction. Minimum bid is typically set at the outstanding loan balance plus accrued interest and fees. If no one bids higher, the creditor takes possession. I looked out the window. The view was a row of artist studios across the street. Someone was welding a steel sculpture in an open garage bay. Sparks scattered across the concrete. "What if they try to refinance?" I asked. "They would need to pay off your note in full. Any new lender would require title verification. They would discover that Castellanos Properties, LLC holds the mortgage. At that point, they could approach you directly to negotiate a payoff or refinance terms. And if I decline?" Raymond tilted his head slightly. "You are under no obligation to refinance. If they want to sell, they would need your approval as lien holder. If they default, the timeline proceeds." I stood and walked to the window. The welder was adjusting a clamp. The sculpture looked like a bird mid-flight, wings spread, frozen in steel. "Thank you, Raymond," I said. "Are you anticipating default?" he asked. I turned back to face him. "I am documenting the possibility." He nodded. He had worked with me long enough to know I did not speculate. I calculated. I left his office and drove back to 412 Meridian Street. The building looked the same as it had for 8 years. Exposed brick, industrial skylights. The new LED sign that said Way Donovan Gallery glowed above the entrance. I parked in the back alley and took the service stairs to the 3rd floor. The space was still mine under the old lease terms. Jordan and Derek had not asked me to vacate. I think they assumed I would leave on my own once the buyout cleared. I did not leave. I set up a desk in the corner room overlooking Meridian Street. The room had good light. I brought in a filing cabinet, a printer, and a coffee maker. I started working from there 3 days a week. Jordan saw me once in the stairwell. It was late February. She was carrying a portfolio case and talking on her phone. She stopped mid-sentence when she saw me. "Maya," she said, "I didn't realize you were still using the space." "The lease runs through June," I said. "I am finishing up some client projects." She adjusted her eyeglasses. "Of course, no problem. Just let me know if you need anything." I nodded and kept walking. She did not ask what clients I was working with. She did not ask why I needed a full office setup for finishing projects. She just wanted me to disappear quietly. I did not disappear. Instead, I started calling the artists. Lucia Reyes was first. She was 29 years old and worked in clay and plaster. I had championed her work when she was a student at UNC Charlotte. Jordan had given her a solo show in 2019. It sold well. Jordan had promised her another show in 2024. I met Lucia at a coffee shop in Plaza Midwood. She had plaster dust under her fingernails. She always did. "I am starting something new," I told her. "A shared studio space for emerging artists. Subsidized rent. No gallery commission on sales, just workspace and community." Lucia looked at me carefully. "Where?" "412 Meridian Street." She set her coffee down. "That's the gallery building." "It will be," I said, "eventually." "Does Jordan know?" "Not yet." Lucia smiled. It was the first real smile I had seen in months. "I'm in," she said. "I called 11 more artists over the next 2 months. 8 said yes immediately. 3 asked for time to think. All 8 who said yes were artists I had discovered. Artists Jordan had shown once and then moved past in favor of bigger names with bigger price tags. By April 2024, I had a waiting list. By May, Jordan and Derek had missed their first full mortgage payment. I opened my laptop and updated the spreadsheet. The row for May glowed red. Payment missed. I saved the file and closed the computer. The silver ring on my right index finger caught the light from the window. I turned it slowly, feeling the weight of it. Buildings outlast betrayals. I had learned that a long time ago. I opened the 3-inch folder on my desk and pulled out the bill of sale dated March 14th, 2023. The document was simple. Clean signatures, no emotional language. Just institutional mechanics transferring ownership of a commercial mortgage note from First Charlotte Commercial Bank to Castellanos Properties, LLC for the sum of $138 million. I had purchased Jordan and Derek's mortgage note 11 months before Jordan offered me the buyout. The building at 412 Meridian Street had always been mine in the ways that mattered. I negotiated the original lease in 2015 when comparable warehouse spaces were going for $8,000 a month. I got us 4,200 years. Over 6 years, that saved the gallery $273,600. I loaned the business $89,000 in year 2 when we couldn't make payroll. Jordan never repaid it. When the landlord offered a lease-to-own option in 2020, I was the one who ran the numbers and structured the deal. But when Jordan married Derek in the fall of 2020, the power dynamics shifted. Derek had money. Real money. Venture capital money. The kind that came with ideas about blue-chip artists and high-end collectors. Jordan started talking about rebranding, about elevating the gallery's profile, about moving beyond emerging talent. She never said it directly, but I understood the subtext. I was the operations director, the one who handled invoices and vendor contracts and insurance renewals. Derek was the visionary, the one with the network and the capital and the strategic mind. In March 2022, Jordan and Derek exercised the early purchase option on the building. They took out a commercial mortgage for $1.5 million at 6.8% interest. The original lease-to-own price had been $1.8 million, but the landlord gave them a discount for paying early. I wasn't consulted. Jordan sent me an email with the subject line, "Exciting News," and a 1-paragraph explanation that they were securing the gallery's future. I congratulated them. I did not ask to see the loan documents. I did not ask why my name wasn't on the deed despite my $89,000 investment and my 6 years of lease savings. I just saved the email and went back to processing artist contracts. By the fall of 2022, I started noticing the late payments, small things at first. A vendor invoice paid 15 days past due. An artist commission check that bounced and had to be reissued. Jordan blamed cash flow timing. Derek was restructuring some investments, she said. Everything would smooth out. I didn't argue, I just started documenting. In December 2022, I contacted Raymond Park. He was a commercial real estate attorney I'd worked with on a separate property deal, a converted textile mill in Durham, that Castellanos Properties LLC had purchased the year before. I asked him a hypothetical question. If a commercial mortgage holder defaulted, could a third party purchase the note from the bank? Raymond's answer was dry and procedural. It happens all the time, he said. Banks sell non-performing loans in portfolio sales. As long as the buyer is a qualified institutional holder or LLC, the transaction doesn't require borrower notification. It's standard commercial practice. I thanked him and hung up. 2 weeks later, I called him back with a non-hypothetical request. I wanted him to monitor the Way Donovan Gallery mortgage for signs of distress. I wanted to know the moment First Charlotte Commercial Bank started considering the loan a problem asset. Raymond didn't ask why. Attorneys who work in commercial real estate understand that curiosity is not billable. He just said he'd set up alerts and keep me informed. On January 11, 2023, Raymond called. First Charlotte was quietly shopping a portfolio of underperforming commercial notes. The Way Donovan mortgage was on the list. The asking price was 92 cents on the dollar. If I wanted to move, I had a 14-day window before the portfolio went to larger institutional buyers. I asked Raymond to run the numbers. If I purchased the note, what were my rights? What were my obligations? What were the mechanics of foreclosure if the borrowers continued to default? He walked me through the timeline. As the note holder, I would assume all the bank's contractual rights. I could collect payments. I could issue default notices. If the borrowers failed to cure within 90 days, I could initiate foreclosure proceedings. The state required certain notifications and timelines, but the process was mechanical, predictable. I asked one more question. Would Jordan and Derek be notified that the note had transferred to a new holder? Raymond said no, not unless they specifically requested that information from the county recorder's office. Most borrowers never check. The payments go to a servicing company, not directly to the note holder. As far as Jordan and Derek would know, they were still paying First Charlotte Commercial Bank. I told Raymond to proceed. On March 14, 2023, I signed the bill of sale. Castellanos Properties LLC paid $1.38 million for the right to collect on a $1.5 million commercial mortgage at 6.8% interest. The transaction closed in 14 business days. Jordan and Derek's February payment had been on time. Their March payment was 5 days late, but still within the grace period. I did not tell Jordan I was now her creditor. I did not tell Derek. I just filed the paperwork in my desk drawer and went back to managing gallery operations. For the next 7 months, I watched the payment patterns deteriorate. April 2023, payment 7 days late. May 2023, payment 12 days late. June 2023, payment within grace period but accompanied by overdraft notice from the servicing company. July 2023, payment 18 days late. August 2023, payment on time but only after I saw Derek's Patek Philippe watch listed on a luxury resale site. I didn't intervene. I didn't offer advice. I just documented every late fee, every grace period extension, every sign that the financial structure was crumbling. In September 2023, they missed their first full payment. I sat at my desk on the 3rd floor at 412 Meridian Street and opened the mortgage agreement. The language was clear. A missed payment triggered a 30-day cure period. If the borrower failed to cure, the note holder could issue a 90-day default notice. If the borrower failed to cure within that 90-day window, the note holder could initiate foreclosure proceedings. I did not issue the notice yet. I wanted to see if they would cure on their own. I wanted to see if Derek's venture capital network would come through. I wanted to see if Jordan would ask me for help. She didn't. October 2023, second consecutive missed payment. November 2023, third consecutive missed payment. December 2023, fourth consecutive missed payment. On December 7, 2023, Jordan called and asked if I wanted to meet for coffee. She picked Brew Coffee Bar on Trade Street. Neutral ground, public but not too crowded. I arrived first. I ordered unsweetened iced tea and sat by the window. The espresso machine was too loud and the December light was thin and cold. Jordan walked in 12 minutes late wearing her designer eyeglasses and a wool coat that cost more than my monthly rent. She didn't apologize for being late. She just sat down and said she wanted to talk about the future of the gallery. I sipped my tea and waited. Jordan said the gallery was entering a new phase. Derek had been consulting with some high-level advisors about positioning and brand strategy. They'd identified some structural inefficiencies that were holding the business back. The conclusion was clear. The gallery needed a singular vision, a unified leadership structure. I set my glass down and asked what that meant for me. Jordan adjusted her eyeglasses. She said they wanted to buy out my 50% stake. She said it wasn't personal. She said they valued everything I'd contributed. She said they wanted to make the transition as smooth and fair as possible. I asked how much. She said $340,000. I didn't react. I didn't argue. I didn't pull out my folder with the itemized accounting of the $89,000 loan and the $273,600 in lease savings. I didn't mention that by my calculation, my contributions were worth at least $450,000 before considering sweat equity, or the fact that I'd built the artist network they were now planning to monetize. I just said I'd think about it. Jordan looked surprised. I think she expected me to negotiate, to push back, to defend my place in the business we'd built together, but I already knew what she didn't. The building they thought they owned was held by a mortgage note I'd purchased 8 months earlier. They were 4 months behind on payments. By my count, they were heading into default within 60 days. I told Jordan I'd have an answer by the end of the week. She smiled her performative warmth smile and said she appreciated my professionalism. She said she knew this was hard. She said she hoped we could stay friends. I finished my tea and left without answering. That night, I sat in my third-floor workspace at 412 Meridian Street and opened the spreadsheet. The column tracking their mortgage payments glowed red. 4 consecutive missed months. If they missed December, I would have the 6 consecutive defaults I needed to issue a formal 90-day notice. I pulled out my calculator and ran the numbers one more time. Original loan from me to the gallery, $89,000. Lease savings I negotiated over 6 years, $273,600. Sweat equity value incalculable. Buyout offer, $340,000. After taxes and legal fees, I'd net approximately $210,000. By the strictest accounting, I'd still be in the red. But I wasn't counting the buyout as the end game. I was counting the building. On December 15, 2023, I called Jordan and accepted the $340,000 offer without negotiation. She sounded relieved. She said Derek's lawyer would draw up the paperwork. We could sign in early January. I agreed to everything. No fight, no counteroffer. No emotional appeals about partnership or loyalty or the 8 years I'd spent building the gallery from a warehouse, shell into a respected institution. Jordan thanked me. She said I was handling this with grace. I hung up and marked December 15th in my calendar. On that same day, I noted that Jordan and Derek had missed their 5th consecutive mortgage payment. In January 2004, I sat in Derek's lawyer's office on the 32nd floor of a glass and leather building with uptown, Charlotte views. The lawyer was a corporate type with a partner-level title and a Mont Blanc pen. He walked me through the buyout contract page by page. I was selling my 50% ownership stake in Way Donovan Gallery LLC for $340,000. I was relinquishing all claims to intellectual property, client lists, vendor relationships, and future revenues. I was agreeing to a mutual non-disparagement clause. The contract contained no non-compete provision. It contained no language about the building at 412 Meridian Street. It contained no acknowledgement of my $89,000 loan or my lease negotiation or my role in founding the business. I read every word. I asked no questions. I signed on every line. Derek's lawyer handed me a cashier's check for $340,000. Jordan smiled and said she was glad we could do this amicably. Derek checked his Patek Philippe watch and said he had another meeting. I thanked them for their time and left. That afternoon, I deposited the check. After taxes and Raymond Park's legal fees, I netted $210,000. I transferred the full amount into Castellanos Properties LLC's operating account. 3 days later, I met with Raymond in his office near NODA. I asked him to prepare the formal 90-day default notice. Jordan and Derek had now missed 6 consecutive payments. Under the mortgage terms, I had the right to demand immediate cure or initiate foreclosure. Raymond drafted the notice. It was addressed to Derek Donovan and Jordan Way, borrowers. It was sent from Castellanos Properties LLC, note holder. It stated that the borrowers had failed to make 6 consecutive monthly payments totaling $67,120, including late fees and interest. It demanded full payment within 90 days or foreclosure proceedings would commence. The notice was delivered by certified mail on April 3, 2024. I was sitting in my third-floor workspace when the courier confirmed delivery. My lease on that space ran through June 2024. Jordan had never asked me to vacate. I think she assumed I'd leave on my own once the buyout cleared. But I didn't leave. I kept my desk. I kept my window overlooking Meridian Street. I kept my silver ring that had belonged to someone who understood that buildings outlast betrayals. And I waited. On April 18, 2024, I ran into Jordan in the stairwell. She was carrying a stack of gallery brochures. I was carrying my laptop bag. We stopped on the landing between the second and third floors. Jordan looked uncomfortable. She asked if I was still working out of the third-floor space. I said my lease ran through June. She nodded. She didn't ask me to leave early. She didn't offer to buy out the remaining months. She just said she hoped the transition had been smooth for me. I said it had been very smooth. We stood there for 5 seconds in the concrete stairwell with the industrial light fixtures humming overhead. Then Jordan said she had a client meeting and needed to go. I stepped aside. She walked past me down the stairs. Her footsteps echoed in the narrow space. I continued up to the third floor, unlocked my office, and sat down at my desk. I opened my laptop and checked my email. There was a message from Raymond with the subject line, "Response to default notice." I opened it. Derek's attorney had sent a formal reply. The letter acknowledged receipt of the default notice. It stated that the borrowers were actively working with lenders to refinance the property. It requested a 30-day extension to cure the default. I forwarded the message to Raymond with a one-word response: denied. Raymond sent back a procedural email. Under the mortgage terms, I was not obligated to grant extensions. The 90-day cure period was a contractual right, not a negotiation. If the borrowers failed to cure by July 2, 2024, I could proceed to foreclosure. I marked July Sue in my calendar. I did not tell Jordan that I had denied the extension request. I did not tell her that I was the note holder. I did not tell her that the polite institutional language in the default notice had come from an LLC I controlled. I just kept working from my third-floor office 3 days a week. I processed invoices for artist materials. I updated my spreadsheet tracking every financial transaction. I drank unsweetened iced tea and watched the gallery operate below me like a ship that didn't know its hull had already breached. In May 2024, Jordan and Derek missed their 7th consecutive payment. In June 2024, they missed their 8th. My lease on the third-floor workspace expired on June 30th. I packed my desk in silence. I took my laptop, my files, my silver ring. I left the key on the desk and walked down the stairs for the last time as a tenant. Jordan was in the first-floor gallery space hanging a new exhibition. She saw me pass with my box of belongings. She waved. I waved back. Neither of us spoke. On July 2, 2024, the 90-day cure period expired. Jordan and Derek had not made a single payment. They had not secured refinancing. They had not contacted Castellanos Properties, LLC to negotiate a settlement. Raymond filed the foreclosure paperwork with Mecklenburg County on July 5, 2024. The legal process was mechanical. Public notices, court filings, 30-day windows. Derek's attorney tried to delay with procedural motions, but the math was clear. The borrowers had defaulted. The note holder had the right to foreclose. I did not attend the preliminary hearings. Raymond handled everything. I just received updates via email. Hearing scheduled, motion denied, auction date set. The foreclosure auction was scheduled for November 6, 2024, at 10 a.m. on the steps of Mecklenburg County Courthouse. I marked the date in my calendar with a single word: close. I stood at the corner of Trade and 4th Streets at 9:47 a.m. on Wednesday, November 6, 2024. The courthouse steps were cold granite under a pale sky. The morning crowd was sparse. A few attorneys in wool coats, 2 men in suits checking their phones, a woman with a clipboard representing the county clerk's office. No one looked at me. I wore a charcoal blazer and flat boots. My leather portfolio case sat at my feet. The silver ring on my right index finger caught the morning light. Raymond Park stood 3 steps below me. He adjusted his briefcase with brass corners and checked his watch. The auction starts in 13 minutes, he said. The minimum bid is $1.2 million. Opening bid will likely come from the commercial developer. His name is Marcus Chen. He owns 4 properties in this corridor. He'll bid to $1.3 million, maybe $1.35 million if he's aggressive. I nodded. What about the private equity fund? Raymond glanced at the 2 men in suits on the far side of the steps. That's them. Pritchard Capital. They buy distressed assets and flip them. They'll go higher than Chen if they think there's arbitrage. They have deeper pockets. And Jordan and Derek? Raymond's expression didn't change. Neither of them has shown up. Derek's attorney filed a motion for stay yesterday afternoon. It was denied at 6:09 p.m. They have no legal mechanism left to stop this. I looked down at my portfolio case. Inside was a cashier's check for $1.5 million drawn on Castellanos Properties LLC's operating account. The check was dated November 5th to 4. I had obtained it from First Charlotte Commercial Bank at 3:00 p.m. the previous afternoon. The teller had asked if I wanted the amount printed or handwritten. I said printed. Numbers should be clear. The county clerk's representative walked to the top step at 9:58 a.m. She carried a laminated card with the property address and legal description. She wore a county ID badge on a lanyard. Her voice was administrative and flat. She read the property address, 412 Meridian Street, Charlotte, North Carolina. She read the legal description from the deed. She stated the minimum bid, $1.2 million. She asked if there were any qualified bidders present. Marcus Chen raised his hand. The clerk nodded at him. The 2 men from Pritchard Capital raised their hands in unison. The clerk nodded at them. Raymond looked at me. I raised my hand. The clerk made a notation on her clipboard. She stated the rules. Bids would proceed in increments of no less than $25,000. The auction would close when no additional bids were received within 60 seconds. The winning bidder must present proof of funds within 2 business hours or forfeit the property to the second highest bidder. She asked if all parties understood. We nodded. The clerk opened the bidding at $1.2 million. Marcus Chen bid $1.295 million immediately. The Pritchard Capital representatives conferred for 8 seconds. One of them bid $125 million. Marcus Chen bid $1.275 million without hesitation. Pritchard Capital bid $1.3 million. The clerk waited. 60 seconds. She announced that if no further bids were received, the property would be sold to Pritchard Capital for $1.3 million. I raised my hand. $1.325 million. Marcus Chen turned to look at me. His expression was neutral, but his posture shifted. He was recalculating. He bid $1.35 million. Pritchard Capital did not counter. The taller representative shook his head. They stepped back. The clerk waited. 60 seconds. I raised my hand. $1.375 million. Marcus Chen checked his phone. He looked at the building across the street. The Way Donovan Gallery sign was still visible from this angle, LED letters against red brick. He did not raise his hand. The clerk waited. 60 seconds. She announced that the property at 412 Meridian Street was sold to bidder number 3 for $1.375 million. She asked me to approach and present proof of funds. I walked up the granite steps. I opened my portfolio case and handed her the cashier's check. She examined it under the morning light. She made a notation on her clipboard. She asked for identification. I gave her my driver's license. She wrote down my name and the LLC name from the check. She handed me a receipt. The receipt stated that I had 2 business hours to complete the transaction at the county recorder's office on the SI, 6th floor. If I failed to appear, the property would revert to the second highest bidder and I would forfeit a $50,000 deposit. I took the receipt and walked back down the steps. Raymond followed. We crossed Trade Street and entered the courthouse through the main entrance. The lobby was marble and fluorescent. We took the elevator to the 6th floor. The recorder's office smelled like toner and filing cabinets. A clerk behind plexiglass asked for my auction receipt. I gave it to her. She disappeared into a back room for 11 minutes. When she returned, she carried a manila folder with the deed, the foreclosure order, and the transfer documents. She spread them across the counter. She explained that I needed to sign in 4 places. The deed would transfer from Jordan Way and Derek Donovan to Castellanos Properties LLC. The property would be recorded in my LLC's name by close of business today. All existing liens, encumbrances, and claims would be extinguished except for county property taxes, which were current. Through December 2024, I signed in 4 places. Raymond witnessed each signature. The clerk stamped the documents with a notary seal. She made copies and placed them in a folder with a county seal embossed on the front. She handed me the folder. She said, "Congratulations on your purchase," in a voice that suggested she said this 40 times per week. We left the courthouse at 11:23 a.m. Raymond walked with me to the parking garage on 5th Street. He asked if I wanted him to draft the vacancy notice or if I preferred to do it myself. "I'll do it," I said. "I want specific language." He nodded. "When will you send it?" "Today. Certified mail. I want it on record that they received formal notification within 24 hours of the foreclosure." Raymond opened his car door. He paused. "Maya, you understand they're going to call you. Jordan is going to call. Derek is going to call. Their attorney is going to call. They will want to negotiate a lease extension or a buyback arrangement." I looked at him. "What do you think I should do?" He adjusted his briefcase. "Under North Carolina law, you have no obligation to negotiate. The foreclosure extinguished their ownership. You can require them to vacate within 30 days and you owe them nothing. But if you want to avoid litigation over personal property or fixtures, you might consider a short-term lease at market rate while they arrange to move the gallery inventory." I shook my head. "No lease, 30 days, standard terms. If they want to remove inventory and fixtures, they can do it within that window. After 30 days, anything remaining becomes property of the building owner." Raymond studied my face for 3 seconds. He nodded. "I'll be available if you need anything." I drove back to my apartment in Noda. The building was a converted textile mill with exposed ductwork and industrial windows. I lived on the 3rd floor. The space was open plan with concrete floors and a view of North Davidson Street. I made coffee. I sat at my dining table, which was reclaimed wood on steel legs. I opened my laptop and drafted the vacancy notice. The notice was 1 page. It identified Castellanos Properties LLC as the new owner of 412 Meridian Street pursuant to foreclosure sale on November 6, 24. It identified Jordan Way and Derek Donovan as former owners and current occupants. It stated that they were required to vacate the premises within 30 days of receipt of this notice in accordance with North Carolina General Statutes Section 45 to 2129. It stated that failure to vacate would result in unlawful detainer proceedings and potential liability for holdover. Damages. It stated that any personal property or fixtures remaining on the premises after the 30-day period would become property of the building owner and could be disposed of without further notice. I read the notice 3 times. I corrected 1 typo. I saved it as a PDF. I printed 2 copies. I signed both copies in blue ink. I placed 1 copy in a manila envelope addressed to Jordan Way and Derek Donovan at 412 Meridian Street. I placed the other copy in my filing cabinet under a tab labeled Foreclosure, 412 Meridian. I drove to the post office on North Tryon Street. I sent the notice via certified mail with return receipt requested. The clerk gave me a tracking number. I photographed the receipt with my phone and saved it to a folder labeled Legal 412 Meridian Street. I returned to my apartment at 2:14 p.m. I made a second cup of coffee. I sat at my dining table and opened the 3-inch folder I had assembled over the past 8 years. The folder contained every invoice I had paid for the gallery, every lease renewal I had negotiated, every artist contract I had written, every bank statement showing the $89,000 loan I had made in 2017. I had calculated the compound interest at 5% annually. The loan was now worth $104,000. I had received $340,000 in the buyout. After taxes and legal fees, I had netted $210,000. By that accounting, I was still in the red by $104,000 if I counted only the loan. If I counted the $273,600 in lease savings I had generated over 6 years by negotiating the $4,200 monthly rate instead of the $8,000 market rate, I was still in the red by $167,600. If I counted the artist relationships I had built, the exhibitions I had curated, the operational systems I had designed, the accounting was incalculable. I closed the folder. I did not need to calculate anymore. The building was mine. The deed was recorded. The vacancy notice was in the mail. My phone rang at 4:47 p.m. The caller ID said Jordan Way. I let it ring 4 times. I answered on the 5th ring. "Maya," Jordan said. Her voice was controlled, but the edges were frayed. "I need to talk to you." "I'm listening." There was a pause. I heard her breathing. I heard background noise, voices, movement, the echo of a large space. She was at the gallery. "Did you buy the building today?" "I did." Another pause. Longer this time. "Why didn't you tell me you were the one holding the mortgage note?" "I wasn't required to. The note transferred between institutional holders. North Carolina law doesn't mandate borrower notification in commercial transactions." "Maya, we were partners," I corrected her. "We were partners until January 2024. You bought me out. I signed the contract. I gave up all ownership claims. You paid me $340,000. The transaction was complete." Jordan's voice sharpened. "You knew we were in trouble. You knew we were missing payments. You could have told us. You could have worked with us." "I could have," I said, "but I wasn't obligated to. You took a $1.5 million mortgage at 6.8% interest without consulting me. You exercised the early purchase option without asking if I wanted to participate. You rebranded the gallery without acknowledging my contributions. You removed my name from the founding plaque. You treated me like support staff. So when you defaulted, I treated you like a debtor." There was a long silence. Then Jordan said, "What do you want?" "I want you to vacate the building within 30 days. You'll receive formal notice via certified mail. You can remove your inventory and fixtures during that period. After 30 days, anything remaining becomes my property." Jordan's voice cracked. "Maya, we have $240,000 worth of art in this building. We have $60,000 in custom fixtures. We have artists who are owed $15,000 in outstanding invoices. We need time to arrange a sale or find a new space. You have 30 days. That's not enough time. It's the time the law allows." Jordan was quiet for 6 seconds. Then she said, "I didn't know you were capable of this." I said, "You didn't know a lot of things about me. You didn't know I kept a ledger. You didn't know I tracked every invoice. You didn't know I calculated the lease savings. You didn't know I maintained relationships with the artists you ignored. You didn't know I bought the mortgage note 11 months before you offered me the buyout. You assumed I would disappear because I didn't argue. That was your mistake." Jordan's breathing was audible now, uneven. She said, "This isn't about the money, is it?" I paused. I looked at the silver ring on my right index finger. It caught the afternoon light coming through the industrial windows. "No," I said. "It's not about the money. It's about the building. It's about the artists. It's about the fact that you thought you could erase me and I would accept it because I was too polite to fight back. You were wrong." Jordan didn't respond. I continued. "I'm converting the building into a shared studio space. It's called Castellanos Commons. 20 artists are already committed. 8 of them are the original artists I championed when we started the gallery, the ones you deprioritized when you rebranded. They're moving in next month. First floor is working studios. Second floor is subsidized housing for 4 artists. Third floor is my workspace. The building will do what it was always supposed to do. It will serve artists. Not collectors, not investors, artists." Jordan's voice was barely audible. "You planned this." "I planned nothing," I said. I responded. "There's a difference. You made choices. You defaulted on your mortgage. You rebranded without me. You offered me a buyout that didn't account for my contributions. I accepted those choices and I built around them. I didn't sabotage you. I just stopped protecting you." Jordan was silent for 11 seconds. Then she said, "Derek is going to be furious." "Derek can be whatever he wants," I said. "The foreclosure is final. The deed is recorded. The vacancy notice is in the mail. If he wants to contest it, he can file a motion. But the law is clear. You defaulted. I foreclosed. The building is mine." Jordan exhaled. It sounded like a collapsed lung. She said, "I don't know what to say." "You don't need to say anything," I said. "You need to start packing." I ended the call. I placed my phone face down on the table. I stood and walked to the window. North Davidson Street was busy with late afternoon traffic. The November light was thin and pale. The industrial buildings across the street cast long shadows. I thought about the bronze plaque that was now in my desk drawer. The plaque that read, "Founded by Maya Castellanos and Jordan Way, 2015. I had not displayed it in my new workspace. I had not thrown it away. I kept it in the drawer because it was evidence. Evidence that I had built something. Evidence that someone had tried to erase me. Evidence that buildings outlast erasure. The certified mail receipt would arrive at Jordan's address within 3 business days. She would sign for it. The 30-day clock would start. During those 30 days, she would call me again. Derek would call. Their attorney would call. They would ask for extensions. They would propose lease arrangements. They would offer to buy the building back. I would decline every request, not because I was cruel, because I was done negotiating with people who had already decided I was disposable. The $240,000 in art inventory would be difficult for them to move in 30 days. The $60,000 in fixtures would be difficult to remove without damaging the walls. The $15,000 in outstanding artist invoices would become personal liabilities. They could not discharge through the foreclosure. These were consequences, not punishments. Consequences of decisions they had made when they believed I would never have the leverage to hold them accountable. I returned to the dining table. I opened my laptop and checked the county recorder's website. The deed was already posted. Property owner, Castellanos Properties, LLC. Date recorded, November 6, 2024. Parcel number, tax assessor ID, legal description, all of it was now public record. Anyone could search it. Anyone could see that the building Jordan and Derek had tried to own without me was now mine outright. I closed the laptop. I made a 3rd cup of coffee. I sat in the November light and I did not feel victorious. I felt resolved. The math was balanced. The building was mine. The artists had a home. Jordan and Derek would vacate within 30 days or face eviction proceedings. The foreclosure was complete. The transformation was beginning. I did not need to explain myself to them anymore. I did not need to justify my silence or my strategy. I had done what the law allowed. I had bought a distressed asset. I had foreclosed on a defaulted mortgage. I had taken possession of a building. These were transactions, not betrayals, transactions. Jordan would not see it that way. She would tell people I had been vindictive. She would say I had engineered their downfall. She would rewrite the history to make herself the victim. I did not care. I had the receipts. I had the ledger. I had the deed. History belonged to whoever kept the documentation. The sun set over North Davidson Street at 5:41 p.m. The industrial windows turned orange and then gray. I did not turn on the lights. I sat in the dimming room and I thought about the 20 artists who would move into Castellanos Commons in January. I thought about the subsidized housing on the 2nd floor. I thought about the workspace on the 3rd floor where I would sit at a desk overlooking Meridian Street with good, natural light. I thought about the building doing what it was always supposed to do. Jordan and Derek would lose everything. The $240,000 inventory, the $60,000 fixtures, the Way Donovan Gallery brand, the collector relationships, the prestige, the future. They would walk away with debt and damaged reputations. That was not my doing. That was gravity. Gravity claims what is owed. It does not negotiate. It does not forgive. It simply collects. I finished my coffee. I rinsed the cup in the sink. I walked to the window one last time. The street was dark now. The traffic had thinned. The city was settling into evening. Somewhere across town, Jordan was standing in the gallery she thought she owned, realizing that 30 days was not enough time to move a life. I did not feel sorry for her. I felt finished. I sat across from Jordan Way at Brew Coffee Bar on Trade Street on a Wednesday morning in late December 2024. The espresso machine hissed too loud. The space smelled like burnt Arabica and winter coats that had been worn too long. Jordan arrived 8 minutes late wearing the same designer eyeglasses she always adjusted when she was uncomfortable. She adjusted them twice before she sat down. I ordered unsweetened iced tea. She ordered a cappuccino she never touched. She said she needed to understand what happened. She said she deserved an explanation. She said the foreclosure had been a shock to everyone who cared about the gallery. I let her finish. Then I opened the leather folder I had brought with me. Inside was the 3-inch stack of documents I had assembled over 8 years. Invoices, lease renewals, artist contracts, payment histories, loan agreements, bank statements. every piece of paper that proved what I had built and what had been taken. I placed the folder on the table between us. The cappuccino cup rattled slightly when the folder landed. Jordan stared at the folder but did not touch it. I said we could start with the original loan, the one she never repaid, the one that never appeared in any buyout calculation. She opened her mouth. I raised my hand. "Let me show you the math," I said. The loan happened in year 2, spring of 2017. The gallery was bleeding money. We had overextended on a group show featuring 12 emerging sculptors. The installation costs alone were $23,000. We had projected sales of $60,000 based on collector interest. We sold $14,000 worth of work. Jordan came to me on a Tuesday morning in April. She said we needed an emergency capital injection or we would miss rent. She said her personal accounts were tapped out from the previous month's operating shortfall. She said she had already asked her parents and they had said no. I transferred $89,000 from my savings account into the gallery's operating account that afternoon. We shook hands. She said she would pay me back with interest once we stabilized. She said it would take 6 months maximum. I never asked for a promissory note. I never asked for collateral. I trusted my business partner. That was April 2017. By December 2023, when Jordan offered me the buyout, that loan had been outstanding for 6 years and 8 months. I had calculated compound interest at 5% annually, industry standard for unsecured business loans between partners. $89,000 compounded over 6 years and 8 months at 5% equals $104,000. I showed Jordan the spreadsheet. Column A listed the original principal. Column B listed the annual interest accrual. Column C listed the compounded total. She looked at the numbers but said nothing. I said the buyout contract made no mention of the loan. The $340,000 she offered me was presented as fair market value for my 50% ownership stake. But it did not account for the $104,000 in outstanding debt the gallery owed me personally. Jordan adjusted her eyeglasses. She said she had assumed the loan was forgiven. She said it had never come up in any partnership discussions. She said I had never mentioned it. I said that was accurate. I had never mentioned it. I had simply tracked it. I turned to the next section of the folder. The lease negotiation happened in year 1, January 2015. Jordan and I were looking at commercial spaces for the gallery. The market rate for 4,000 square feet of warehouse space in a desirable neighborhood was $8,000 per month. Every space we toured quoted us variations on that number. Some were $7,500, some were $8,500, none were below $7,000. Then I found 412 Meridian Street. The building was owned by a family trust. The trustee was a woman named Caroline Merritt. Her daughter had been in my contemporary art history seminar at UNC Charlotte. We had stayed in touch casually over the years. Coffee twice a year, holiday cards. The social architecture of professional networks. I called her daughter. I explained what Jordan and I were trying to build. I asked if her mother might consider a below-market lease for an emerging gallery that would activate the neighborhood. Caroline Merritt offered us $40,200 per month on a 3-year lease with 2 3-year renewal options. Jordan was thrilled. She said it was a miracle. She said we were so lucky. I never told her I had negotiated the rate. I never told her the lease was $3,800 below market. I never told her my relationship with the landlord's daughter was the reason we got the space at all. I just signed the lease and paid the first month's rent. For 6 years, we operated under that lease. 3 years at $40,200. 3 more years at $40,500 after the first renewal. Market rates climbed to $9,000 by year 4. We stayed at $4,500. The savings were $3,800 per month for the first 3 years, then $4,500 per month for the next 3 years. I showed Jordan the calculation. 3,800 times 36 months equals $136,800. Then 4,500 times 36 months equals $162,000. Total savings over 6 years, $273,600. Jordan looked at the numbers. Her face was pale. I said this value never appeared in any partnership accounting. The lease was treated as operational overhead. The fact that it was $273,600 below market over 6 years was never acknowledged as my contribution. It was just assumed to be good fortune. I said I had never asked for credit. I had simply documented the value. Jordan said she did not know I had negotiated the lease. She said she thought the landlord had just liked our proposal. I said that was what I had let her believe. I turned to the next section. The Artist Network happened over 8 years. I had discovered Lucia Reyes in 2016 at a MFA thesis show in Durham. Her sculptural work used reclaimed industrial materials to explore labor and obsolescence. I brought Jordan to see the show. I introduced her to Lucia. I proposed we give Lucia her first solo exhibition. Lucia's show in 2019 sold $42,000 worth of work. It was our second highest grossing exhibition that year. Jordan took the commission check and thanked Lucia for trusting us. She did not mention that I had found her. She did not mention that I had written the wall text. She did not mention that I had personally contacted 8 collectors to preview the work before the opening. Lucia was one of 12 artists I brought into the gallery over 8 years. I showed Jordan the list. 12 names. 12 artists who had no representation when I found them. 12 artists whose careers I had helped launch through gallery shows, collector introductions, and critical attention. 8 of those 12 artists joined my new collective immediately when I contacted them in 2024. I did not have to pitch them. I did not have to negotiate. I sent an email explaining what I was building at Castellanos Commons. I said I was offering shared studio space on the first floor, subsidized housing on the second floor, and a working gallery model where artists retained 70% of sales instead of the standard 50%. 8 artists said yes within 48 hours. Jordan stared at the list. Her hands were folded in her lap. I said this was the talent pipeline. This was the infrastructure. This was the thing she had assumed was the gallery's asset when it had always been my relationship capital. I said the gallery did not discover these artists. I did. The gallery did not nurture these careers. I did. The gallery took the credit and the commission. I took nothing. Until I decided to take everything. Jordan said she had not realized I felt that way. She said she thought we had been equal partners in building the gallery's reputation. I said we had been equal partners on paper. In practice, I had been the operations director, the artist liaison, the financial backstop, and the institutional memory. She had been the public face. I said that was fine. I had never asked to be the public face. I had simply asked to be remembered as a founder. Then she took my name off the building. Jordan pushed her untouched cappuccino to the side. She said the rebrand had been Derek's idea. She said he thought the gallery needed a cleaner identity to attract institutional collectors. She said the dual founder narrative felt dated. I said the dual founder narrative was the truth. She said truth and branding were not always the same thing. I said that was the problem. I pulled out the photograph. It was printed on standard letter paper. The image showed the bronze plaque being removed from the brick wall. The contractor's drill was visible in the frame. Jordan stood on the sidewalk directing him with hand gestures. Her eyeglasses caught the winter light. The plaque read, "Founded by Maya Castellanos and Jordan Way, 2015. I said I took this photograph from my third-floor window on the afternoon of December 14th, 2023. 7 days after she offered me the buyout, 6 days before I accepted. I said I watched my name disappear into a cardboard box. I watched the LED sign go up. I watched her not look up at the window where I stood. Jordan said she did not know I was still working in the building at that point. She said she assumed I had already moved out. I said I had 6 months left on my third-floor lease. I said I worked there 3 days a week until June 2024. I said she saw me in the stairwell multiple times. She never asked me to leave. She said she thought it would be awkward to bring it up. I said it was more awkward to pretend I did not exist. I closed the folder. I said we could do the full accounting now, the complete ledger of what I had contributed and what I had been paid. Original loan with compound interest, $104,000. Below market lease savings over 6 years, $273,600. Artist network value. Incalculable, but conservatively worth the $340,000 buyout price on its own, given that 8 artists immediately defected to my new model. Total documented value, $377,600 minimum. Buyout payment received, $340,000 gross, $210,000 net after taxes and legal fees. I was still in the red by $167,600 even after accepting the buyout. Jordan said she had not known about the loan or the lease negotiation. She said the buyout price had been based on comparable gallery sales and asset valuation. She said Derek's lawyer had run the numbers. I said Derek's lawyer had run the numbers Derek wanted to see. I said the buyout was not about fair value. It was about erasing me from the record so the gallery could be rebranded as a Way Donovan operation without the complication of my existence. I said that was fine. I had accepted the buyout, I had signed the contract, I had taken the money and walked away. But I had walked away as the creditor on a $1.5 million mortgage they were already defaulting on. Jordan flinched. I said I had purchased the mortgage note in March 2023, 11 months before she offered me the buyout. I said I had watched their payments deteriorate from April 2023 through August 2023. I said I had tracked every late payment, every missed deadline, every failed refinancing attempt. I said I had issued the 90-day default notice in April 2024. I said I had denied their extension request. I said I had waited through the cure period while they scrambled to find a buyer or a new lender. I said I had attended the foreclosure auction on November 6, 2024. I said I had bid $135 million for the building. I said I had outbid the commercial developer and the private equity fund. I said I had completed the deed transfer the same day. I said I had sent the 30-day vacancy notice via certified mail at 2:14 p.m. I said I now owned the building at 412 Meridian Street free and clear. Jordan's hands were shaking. She said I had planned this from the beginning. She said I had orchestrated the entire collapse. She said I had destroyed her business and her marriage out of spite. I said I had done none of those things. I said I had simply bought a distressed asset at market rate. I said I had foreclosed on a defaulted mortgage according to North Carolina law. I said I had acquired a building I could convert into a working collective for artists who needed affordable space. I said she and Derek had stopped paying their mortgage in September 2023, 3 months before she offered me the buyout. I said they had defaulted on their own. I said they had failed to refinance on their own. I said they had lost the building because they could not afford to keep it. I said I had not destroyed anything. I had simply refused to save them. Jordan said that was the same thing. I said it was not. She asked what I wanted from this meeting. I said I wanted her to understand the math. I said the $89,000 loan was never repaid. The $273,600 lease savings were never acknowledged. The Artist Network was never valued as my contribution. The founding credit was erased without conversation. I said the buyout was not generous. It was barely adequate. And even after accepting it, I was still $167,600 in the red by the numbers I had tracked. I said I had not come here to gloat. I had come here to show her the receipts. I said she could tell whatever story she wanted about the foreclosure. She could frame it as betrayal or vindictiveness or long-planned revenge. She could post about it on Instagram and call it a painful lesson in financial literacy and get 340 likes from people who did not know the full ledger. But the ledger was here, in this folder, documented and time-stamped and saved in 3 different cloud accounts. I said history belongs to whoever kept the receipts, and I had kept every single one. Jordan asked if I was going to let her remove the inventory and fixtures before the 30-day deadline. I said the building sale included all attached fixtures per standard commercial real estate law. The custom track lighting, the gallery walls, the security system, all of it transferred with the deed. I said the art inventory was hers to remove. She had until January 5th, 2025 to coordinate with the artists and arrange shipping. After that date, anything remaining in the building became my property. She said the inventory was worth $240,000. She said she needed time to contact collectors and arrange consignment agreements. I said she had 30 days. That was the legal requirement. I was not obligated to extend it. She said some of the artists had outstanding invoices. She said she owed $15,000 in unpaid commissions. I said that was between her and the artists. It was not my concern. She said I was taking everything. I said I was taking what I bought. The building, the fixtures, the space. I said she was keeping what she had already taken. The brand, the client list, the social capital of having run a successful gallery for 9 years. I said we were even now. She did not agree. I stood to leave. Jordan asked if I felt better now that I had won. I said I did not feel better. I felt resolved. I said for 8 years I had watched my contributions get absorbed into the gallery's success without attribution. I had watched my name get treated as optional. I had watched my financial sacrifices get reframed as partnership obligations that did not require repayment. I said I had built the gallery's foundation, the lease, the artist network, the operating capital, the institutional relationships. I said Jordan had built the gallery's image, the collector dinners, the art fair presence, the media coverage. I said those were both valuable contributions, but only one of us got erased when it was time to rebrand. I said the foreclosure was not revenge, it was correction. I said gravity does not negotiate. It just collects what is owed. I left the folder on the table. Jordan asked why. I said she could keep it. I had copies. I said maybe she would want to review the numbers someday when she was ready to understand what actually happened. I said the building at 412 Meridian Street was now Castellanos Commons, 20 artists working on the first floor, 4 artists living in subsidized housing on the second floor, my private office on the third floor overlooking Meridian Street. I said the bronze plaque that read, "Founded by Maya Castellanos and Jordan Way, 2015, was in my desk drawer. I had not thrown it away. I had not mounted it on the new building. I was keeping it as evidence. I said evidence of what I had built, evidence of what had been taken, evidence that I had been here. I said buildings outlast betrayals, receipts outlast narratives. I said if you are out there keeping a mental ledger of every contribution that was never acknowledged, every sacrifice that was reframed as obligation, every time your labor was treated as support staff instead of foundation, write it down. Document the dates, document the amounts, document the promises, because the person who kept the receipts owns the history. And eventually, if you are patient enough and precise enough, you will own the building too. I stand at the third floor window of Castellanos Commons on a Sunday afternoon in late June 2025. The glass is open. Street noise drifts up. Car horns, conversation, the hiss of a bus pulling away from the corner. Below me, Meridian Street looks the same as it did when I first saw this building 10 years ago. The brick hasn't changed. The skylight frames haven't rusted. The bones are good. Behind me, Lucia Reyes is installing a new sculpture in the main gallery space. I can hear the scrape of metal on concrete, her quiet swearing when something shifts wrong, the assistant's footsteps, crossing the floor. 20 artists work here now. 4 live upstairs in subsidized housing on the second floor. The rest come and go through the week. Painters, ceramicists, a performance artist who uses projections and sound. The building smells like sawdust and turpentine and coffee from the corner shop. This office is mine. Third floor, northeast corner, same view of Meridian Street I had before. Different lease terms. I own the building outright now. Castellanos Properties LLC holds the deed. The county recorded it on November 6, 2024 at 11:23 a.m. The property taxes are current through December. The insurance is paid. The maintenance schedule is posted in the stairwell. I turn away from the window and sit at my desk. The leather surface is clean except for my laptop, a coffee mug, and one drawer that stays locked. I open the drawer. The bronze plaque sits inside, wrapped in tissue paper. I unwrap it slowly. The metal is heavy, cool in my hands. The engraving reads, "Founded by Maya Castellanos and Jordan Way, 2015. They removed it from the brick wall on December 14/2023. I photographed the removal from this window, the contractor's drill, Jordan's hand gestures, her eyeglasses catching winter light. I don't display the plaque. I don't destroy it either. It lives in this drawer because it is evidence. Evidence that I was here. Evidence that I built something. Evidence that erasure failed. I wrap the plaque again and close the drawer. I lock it. My phone buzzes. A text from Raymond Park. The final invoices from the foreclosure are settled. The county filing fees, the auction deposit refund, the deed transfer costs, everything is reconciled. I text back confirming receipt. I open my laptop and check my email. Lucia sent sketches for the fall exhibition. 3 sculptors, 1 painter, 1 mixed media installation. All artists I brought into the collective between February and October 2024. 8 of the original 12 I contacted said yes immediately. 3 asked for time to think. 1 declined. The count is accurate. I keep track. I scroll through Instagram without posting anything. Jordan's account is still public. Her last post is from January 2025. The caption reads, "Painful lesson in financial literacy." grateful for what I learned. The photo shows an empty gallery wall, track lighting casting shadows on white paint. The post has exactly 340 likes. I don't comment. I don't like the post. I close the app. The Commons operates on a 70% artist commission model. Standard gallery practice is 50-50. I run the books every month. Revenue covers operating costs, property taxes, insurance, maintenance, and a small salary for me. The building is not a commercial success story. It is operational sustainability. Artists get subsidized rent, exhibition space, professional development, and fair commission splits. The model works because I own the walls. Downstairs, Lucia's sculpture installation continues. I hear the assistant laugh at something. A drill whirs briefly, then stops. Sunday afternoon light fills the stairwell. I think about Jordan sometimes, not often, but sometimes. I think about the coffee shop meeting in late December. The 3-inch folder of documentation I left with her. The invoices, the lease agreements, the payment histories, the artist contracts. The $89,000 loan from April 2017 with 5% compound interest totaling $104,000. The $273,600 in lease savings over 6 years. The 12 artists I discovered and brought to the gallery. The photograph of the plaque removal. I told her I was still $165,600 in the red even after the $210,000 net buyout. That accounting is accurate. I keep the receipts. Jordan asked if I planned the entire collapse from the beginning. I told her I purchased the mortgage note in March 2023, tracked the defaults, foreclosed legally, and won the building. At auction for $175 million. I told her I did not destroy her and Derek. I refused to save them from defaults they created themselves. Refusing rescue is not the same as causing collapse. I close my laptop and stand. The silver ring on my right index finger catches the afternoon light. It belonged to my grandmother. She taught me that buildings outlast betrayals. She taught me to document everything. She taught me that silence is not the same as weakness. I walk to the window and look down at Meridian Street. The sidewalk is the same. The brick is the same. The skylight frames are the same, but the name on the deed has changed. The name on the lease has changed. The artists working inside have changed. History belongs to whoever kept the receipts. I hear footsteps on the stairs. Lucia appears in the doorway, plaster dust under her fingernails, sweat on her forehead. She asks if I want to see the installation before they secure the base. I say yes. I follow her downstairs. The sculpture is 8 feet tall, welded steel and reclaimed wood. It twists upward, catching light from the industrial skylights. The piece is called Foundation. Lucia gestures at the joints, explaining the engineering, the balance points, the anchor bolts they'll drill into the concrete floor. I listen. I nod. I ask questions about load-bearing capacity and seismic stability. Lucia answers precisely. She knows her work. When the installation is finished, we'll host an opening. Invite collectors, critics, the public. Sell the work if someone makes an offer. Give Lucia 70% of the sale price. Document the transaction. Pay the taxes. Keep the receipts. The building at 412 Meridian Street stands because I own it outright. The artists work here because I offered them fair terms. The collective functions because the math is transparent. Nobody votes me out. Nobody erases my name. Nobody decides I was just support staff. I am Maya Castellanos, 38, founder, creditor, owner, the ground beneath their feet. If this story moved you, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next one.
Tell us in the comments which moments stayed with you. Thanks for staying to the end. We'll see you in the next story.